Good afternoon, Hero Roundtable. One of my favorite things about coaching is asking powerful questions. And you guys have been such a great audience, and a lot of powerful questions have been asked of you. I hope it's really got your mind going. One of the ones I love to ask is, Suzanne asked it yesterday, who is your hero? Now, I know a lot of you now have Captain Encouragement as your hero, so think about it. And did anybody remember what Joe said yesterday when he was asked that question? He said his father. And I'm amazed how many times I hear from people. It's not Batman or Superman, although we do have those, but it's a family member. It's a mom or a dad. It's a grandmother or grandfather. It's a son. It could be a sibling. As in my case, I was able to share a story with you last year from this stage about my sister Beth. She passed away at 16 years old in this community, and then I lost my father Don at 64. And although they passed on, they have left behind these powerful family legacies that to this day continue to inspire and motivate us to do good. And what I want to talk to you today about is being emotionally healthy and strong. And I'm going to scratch the surface of a topic, a field of study that's kind of new, but it's called emotional intelligence. And a lot of our speakers have alluded to it today. We're going to scratch the surface. I'm going to introduce you to a concept called a Kairos moment. You've heard a lot of these, but I don't think anybody's used that word yet, and I'd like you to incorporate it. And I'm also going to give you a simple yet powerful tool to take with you and hopefully put into practice right away. I want to help you improve the lenses in which you look at and process this inevitable thing called change. And I want to inspire and motivate you to continue to do good like everybody else up here has. Before I do that, I need to share one more family member with you. This is my stepmother, Paula. And it's about 3 years ago, about February of 2016, we were sitting in her dream home. She had just purchased an extremely large condo. It was way too big for her, but she was super thrilled and excited, but it was kind of a sad time too, because she was terminally ill. And so as I danced around this very sensitive topic of how to help her manage her things and take care of her wishes, if any of you have had a conversation like that, it's difficult. It is a courageous conversation. And one day I finally mustered up the courage, and I said, Paula, and we're sitting in her big, large room. She's all bundled up with blankets, as she usually was. And I said, Paula, what do you want me to do with everything? There was another house in Ann Arbor that she'd moved out of and not sold, and there were 4 storage units full of belongings and accumulations and stuff. And so I'm sitting there with my pad, as I've been doing the whole time. I love to take notes, and I awaited her response. And after a long silence, she finally looked up at me, and she said, family planning. And I wrote it down. And then I awaited, some detail. Okay, that was like my header. Family planning, okay, here are the steps. But she didn't really say anything else. The next thing she said was, you're a big boy. You'll figure it out. And that was the end of that conversation. So Irish teacher and poet John O'Donohue, in a beautiful book called To Bless the Space Between Us, said this, and I felt very much like this at the time. When we stand before crucial thresholds in our lives, we have no rituals to protect, encourage, and guide us as we cross over into the unknown, because that's exactly what I felt like. And at that point, I was also asking this question, okay, where do we go from here? Where do I go? What do I do with this moment? Viktor Frankl said it even better in this. There's so much power in this. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and our power to choose our response. We have a choice. In our response lies our growth and freedom. So, another powerful question for you today. What are we going to do with that space? The ancient Greeks had 2 words for time. The one you probably know pretty well. Doug speaks at 1:30. Sequential time, chronological time, chronos. The word you might not have heard of that I'm going to introduce you now is called Kairos. Kairos is different. So picture time being a river, especially a river that's flowing pretty fast. And this thing called time that we know as we get older, time flies when you're having fun, time flies as we get into life. we have a tendency to get swept away. So picture Kairos, this big branch that comes along that you see that you can grab and pull yourself up. Picture that. That's the best analogy I can think of. The ancient Greeks described it as this. It's a right, critical, or opportune moment, or even better, it signifies a proper or opportune time for action. I think we've heard that word a few times today, haven't we? They can be big and small moments. It can be just a conversation. It can be something small. It can be getting married, having a child, starting a new career, going on a 500-mile journey. There have been so many Kairos moments shared today. I'm like, oh, this talk is designed especially for them. And they can be good and bad. But again, then what do we do when these moments come along? Can we identify them? And do we know what to do? So my friends introduced me to this, the learning circle. It's so simple, you might kind of look at it and go, well, I don't know, that seems kind of elementary. But I did this last night at the ER with my wife. I observed what happened. I reflected and discussed. That right side is, let's call that the self-awareness side. The left side then helps, after we've processed that, whatever our Kairos moment is, then we got to come up with a plan. We got to have some accountability, and we finally have to take action. So observe and reflect. Let's unpack this a little bit. Those first two, I'm going to put them together. This is your opportunity to increase this thing called emotional intelligence. Maybe you've heard that before. Emotional intelligence, as defined by 6 Seconds organization, a set of competencies that allow you to apply thinking and feeling to make optimal decisions about yourself and others. It's thinking with your head and heart, combining the two together. It's being smart with your feelings. Socrates said, know thyself. It's this thing called self-awareness, knowing what your dreams and your passions and your goals are, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. So I ask you the feeling, what are you feeling? Some people don't like to talk about this. In fact, I was at a table one time with a guy. He said, the good news is I have emotions. And he followed that up by saying, the bad news is I have emotions. So which way do you choose to look at it? It's a bit of glass half full or half empty. But I'm here to tell you, as I'm learning through a wonderful course, every emotion has a purpose. When I was overwhelmed with all the responsibility and day-to-day challenges, taking care of Paula's and my dad's stuff, it helped me prioritize what needed to be done and in what order. When I was sad and going through another period of grieving, which I didn't want to and nobody ever wants to, I turned pain into purpose, just like I saw my dad do. And it helped me understand and be grateful and thankful and have a higher level of gratitude. Here's another great one from 6 Seconds. Emotions, think about this. Emotions drive people, and people drive performance. You're going to start seeing this more and more in businesses and in corporate culture. And this one, I don't know, just this one really hit me hard. Sidney Harris was an author and a journalist in Chicago, and he said, it's surprising how many persons go through life without ever recognizing that their feelings toward other people are largely determined by their feelings toward themselves. So what is that internal conversation you're having? What's that self-talk? How do you talk to yourself? What do you see when you look in the mirror? Okay, friends, we've talked about this a number of times. You're like, oh, Doug, this is a broken record. But this comes time to discuss. Ask powerful questions of the people around you, probably mostly your family. They're the people that love you and care for you the most. Great book by Will Wise. I love the idea of asking the most beautiful question. And then, remember, several people have touched on it, we are given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a very specific reason. We need to be good listeners. We need to improve our listening skills every single day. It is hard. It's an art. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. I love asking this question of people. Who's on your success team? Draw an oval on a sheet of paper and just start putting people around that oval. And I know if you don't trust them, they shouldn't be on your team. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Community, tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And then it comes to the second part. Okay, now that we've processed it, kind of where do we go from here? So nail down what you're going to do in response to your discussions, in response to the feedback you get. Make a plan. keep it really simple. It doesn't have to be complex. Agree to some accountability, and just know that this is the part where you have to try not to get upset. You have to manage those emotions, because sometimes the feedback and the accountability you get when people challenge you, they challenge you because they love you and because they care about you. So be open to that, and that is what then puts the time into place to act on it. Phil Knight, the prophet Phil Knight, said, just do it. So then it's time to just do it. And then, as we get better and better at this, there is one more. Repeat. Repeat when the next Kairos comes. You will get better and better at managing your emotions and helping other people, because the goal is to become more self-aware so we can lead ourselves better, as we've all heard here, so then we can pour into and be available and have capacity to pour into the lives of others and help others lead. It's like this beautiful ripple effect. So glad Nicholas is in the front. We discovered last night we're fellow Rotarians. Go Rotary. Their motto is service above self. And so this second to last slide is just some resources. I've given you a couple websites, eq.org and 6seconds.org, because a 12-minute talk cannot do anything but hopefully give you some interest and some desire to pursue this further. And for the students in the room, because I know there's so many, please ask your school if you have some toward a Rotary Club. They have Interact Club as early as age 12 to 18, and the Rotaract Club actually is high school and then college. And there's some contact info if you want to get in touch with me. When everything was all said and done, through using the Kairos moments and the learning circle, I was able to get things taken care of, and at the end of it all, just this past June, we were able to go to Oahu, which is where my stepdad and mom absolutely love to go, and we were able to do a little bit of family planning, because it's a language that my family now knows and can talk about together. So friends, my motto is live proactively, and I just encourage and I just want all of you to do as good a job you can as being heroes as you go out from here, and hopefully using the learning circle in all that you do. Be well and have a great day. Thank you so much.